There's a city in Massachusetts called Worcester, Mass, with a population comparable to that of Bakersfield, about 350,000. And if I say Worcester, Mass to you, I'm sure you don't really have much of a reaction. So I've kind of looked into this because over the last 4 months, I can't tell you enough how much I feel that reputation isn't warranted. So it turns out, and I'm not sure if you know this story or not, but in the 1950s, 1955, Johnny Carson, before he was host of The Tonight Show, came to Bakersfield.
He got mad because they threw vegetables at him. They threw tomatoes.
Exactly. He said he came here and his
I think it was out on Union Avenue even.
Yeah. His direct quote was that
I'm born and raised from Bakersfield.
No, I know you are. I know you are. And I know that you have a lot of pride in being from Bakersfield. Yeah. So I've spoken with Mayor Hall and a bunch of other folks, including Johnny Carson's niece as well. But he said, I died in Bakersfield. And 1962, he gets The Tonight Show. He's hosting it for 30 years until 1992. He's got 40 million viewers 5 nights a week. And you know, he even said that if his monologue in the beginning of the show wasn't going well, he'd just say, anybody been to Bakersfield recently? And Jay Leno just said they spent $1 billion to go to Mars and report back that it was hot, dusty, and devoid of intelligent life. If that is what they were looking for, they could have saved the money just by taking the Greyhound to Bakersfield. And Jay Leno, for no reason, we've also talked to him, has continued this rumor. So basically, long story short, for the last 40+ years, Americans, the national reputation of Bakersfield is negative, in my opinion, because the #1 show in America for 30 of those years was The Tonight Show, and Carson just pumped it into the public vernacular and the public consciousness about how bad our city is, and it's really not that way. What do you think about that?
Well, I just think they just don't know Bakersfield because it's probably one of the best places in the world. I mean, I'm born and raised there, and it has a little of something for everyone. We provide the energy, we feed the world, but think about what's come out of Bakersfield. Chief Justice Earl Warren, Frank Gifford, Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, all the way from the music all the way down to corn. This is a unique area. This area of Bakersfield has the largest relay for life in the country.
That's right.
We honor our veterans. We do just honor flight just last weekend, sending World War II veterans all from Bakersfield. You will never find a more giving community than Bakersfield. We care for one another, and we care about our families and the tradition. You look at Luigi's, wool growers. They are family tradition to wars, more than 100 years in business, to the Birchtolds. These are ones that built relationships generation after generation, and they watched Bakersfield build something with the resources what they had. Lots of times when people say something negative about it, I think they've never been there, or more importantly, maybe they're just a little jealous.
Congressman, the Bakersfield Californian said that in the minds of millions, Bakersfield must have been a traffic signal and a Dairy Queen, and in the minds of some, it probably still is. What do you say to that when people around the country have this image of Bakersfield, much like myself before moving here, that is negative? What can we do or what can be done to sort of change that? I'll tell you, when I called your office and told them this story, there was not a condescending chuckle, but they were aware of it. Do you deal with this in Washington at all?
You deal with lots of places you go, but one thing I will tell you, it is changing. I read the Wall Street Journal just within the last 2 months. It talks about the housing growth in Bakersfield. When you talk about that you want to go to space privately, that's in Kern County, which is close to Bakersfield. I mean, Bakersfield is inside Kern County. But the difference is I think there is a big change going on with what about Bakersfield. I talk to a lot of individuals. Lots of times they just driven through it, but now they stop. I'll give you one prime example. I was up in San Francisco just the last couple weeks. This individual, he's a venture capitalist. He had a lot of new startups there. And he goes to introduce me. He says he's from Bakersfield, and some of you may not know where that is, but it is my favorite place to eat. As I drive through, I stop off, and I go to Moo Creamery. So we have a unique ability here with a lot of different families, with a lot of different restaurants, with a lot of different, I say the values of what people would look for across America right here in Bakersfield. I believe that's all changing as people look around the country and look at what Bakersfield's been able to accomplish.
And life as it should be is Bakersfield's slogan. Obviously, the air quality has its issues. Crime is high. Unemployment remains high. There are issues with education. But as you drive around, you know, the city is very clean and it's very pleasant. You know, how does this this reputation change in the eyes of people nationwide? You know, people that don't know anything about Bakersfield, that don't know anything other than the reputation that precedes it. How do we change that sort of thing?
Well, the more people that get familiar with Bakersfield, I mean, you look at the quality of life. I've grown up here my whole life. It's continued to change. The population's gotten larger and the quality of life has gotten better. But you'll never find a community that is more giving. I will tell you from the aspect from healthcare to, you go down to Rabobank Arena, you could see just the same concerts, but you can take your family to it and feel safe. You can go to the high school. Think of this. Judy and I, my wife, graduated from Bakersfield High School.
Yep.
Our son graduated from Bakersfield High School. It's more than 100 years old. Chief Justice Earl Warren, Frank Gifford graduated from there. There's not very many cities that you can talk about that have generation after generation can continue to go to the same high school, get a quality education, and go on to bigger and better things. But that really is the roots of Bakersfield. And the more people that become acquainted with it will know. And if you sit back, there were 2 presidents that lived in Bakersfield. They both happened to be, one was a father to the other, George Bush. They lived here because they worked in the oil fields. They talked very fondly of it as well. So maybe one person had a TV show that put it into a joke, but everybody else that lives here knows it's no joke when it comes to Bakersfield, that it's a very caring and a unique place to live that will continue to grow and be a better place.